Welcome into the 2016 signing day coverage on BuffStampede.com. Adam Munsterteiger, pleased to be joined here at the Blake Street Tavern with BuffStampede fan correspondent Tyler Ziskin. Tyler, I was thinking the other day, and counted up the years, this is my 14th year covering signing day, and it never gets old. This is always it's a hectic day, but it's one of my favorite days of the year. Do you remember the first year and kind of how you started to really get into signing day?
So I started going to CU in 2005, and actually I joined BuffStampede in 2007, and the reason was because Ethan Atkins actually went to high school with me, and he was really close to my brother, and I kind of wanted to follow that whole recruiting process, and he ended up at CU, which was a lot of fun, and I just kind of fell in love with all the information that you got on the boards, and it kind of just worked its way from there.
Well, this was a little bit of a strange recruiting cycle for Colorado in the sense that late spring, early summer, Colorado does not have a verbal commitment. The fans are starting to get a little restless. Colorado was the second to last power conference program to get a verbal commit from this 2016 class. Iowa State was the last. And so you kind of go from that early angst and fast forward to the end of this recruiting cycle. Colorado has to turn down a top 100 California recruit in Taylor Hawkins because they don't have any room left.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you look back and people still kind of talk about how at times we think we're taking kids too early in the process still because of situations like Taylor Hawkins at the end of the way. But looking back on it, being the second to last Power 5 team to actually get a commit, it kind of surprised me, honestly, because I didn't realize that we were so far behind the eight ball on that from that regard. It's definitely been an interesting year, a lot of stress, especially down the stretch, because for the first time in a while, we actually have some signing day drama. A lot of these kids at the end of the class, we didn't know, we didn't know if we were going to get some of them. So it's been fun, stressful for sure, but it's definitely been the more fun signing day I can remember in the last few years, especially with McIntyre.
A guy that won't be signing with Colorado, but is a big part of what Colorado is going to be doing in the future here, at least in 2016, is Davis Webb, who announces he's transferring from Texas Tech. I feel like we'd be remiss if we went through our signing day coverage and really didn't talk about him. I've said this, I think if you were setting odds in Las Vegas as to who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Buffs in 2016, you'd have to put him as the favorite, despite Sefo Lufau's history as a starting quarterback at CU.
Yeah, I don't think they brought him here to be a backup, that's for sure. The expectation is for him to start. I think Sefo's health will have a little bit to do with that. I think people are a little less confident now than maybe a few months ago how healthy he's going to be, just because we haven't heard really that much of an update from him yet. And now the luxury also, they don't really need to rush him back. With Davis Webb there, if they choose to, he could redshirt and come back the following year. So to me, he's an important piece. He really fits the offense extremely well. I like we talk about his passer efficiency rating all the time, being the highest since Joel Klatt was here. So for me, it's a big pickup, one that a lot of people on Twitter have been asking me when he's going to get added to the commit list. And I'm like, well, he's not. He's a transfer, so it's a little bit different. We're not going to get any credit for him coming. But he's still a big piece, if not the biggest piece of the incoming kids.
When each letter of intent is confirmed by CU compliance, we're going to have a separate video for each guy talking about our impressions of them and, including some highlights with that. And when we go through each guy, we're going to talk about the number of offers that each of these commits has. And if you added up all the offers of all these commits, it's going to be a larger number than any of the recent CU classes. That said, there are 6 guys that are going to be signing with Colorado today that didn't have another power conference offer. So kind of an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, I think this year you're definitely seeing a lot of top-end talent compared to previous classes under McIntyre for sure. I think the bottom-end guys, there's still some question marks there for sure, especially not finding an offensive lineman that I think is going to impact right away. Not that most of them do, but I think that's probably your biggest concern as of right now. But for me, there's no argument they're going into states they haven't had success in before and landing quality guys that other big-time programs wanted, which is the step in the right direction for McIntyre.
Without question, you look at these linemen and go, okay, I think these guys are going to have to develop. They're not going to be the guys that walk in from day one and are Pac-12 ready. But on the other side of that, the skill guys, there are quite a few guys in this class at the skill positions that I think will be contributors from day one. Juwan Winfrey is going to be expected to play from day one. I think the South Plantation teammates, Anthony Julmise and Johnny Huntley, those guys should both be instant contributors. Ronnie Blackman on the defensive side of the ball and as a punt and kick returner. So there's some guys I think that are going to walk right in and play a big role.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that we're going to have a punt returner for the first time in a while, it sounds like. Obviously we all love Nelson Spruce, but he wasn't the most dynamic guy in the punt return game. They just try to keep it safe back there. I think they have a few guys in this class that really can change the dynamic there for us and maybe get some bigger plays, some field possession changes and things like that that can really help you score a few more points a game. That could be the difference between a win and a loss.
With the recruiting rankings, there's this, the way it's set up is you get points up to 20 commits. And let's say you sign 25 guys and you sign 5 2-stars. Those 5 2-stars don't count against you. Well, Colorado's not going to sign 20 guys this year, so they're already behind the 8 ball in terms of the recruiting rankings, in terms of not getting points for that 20th guy because there's not going to be 20 guys. And then added on to that, since you're not signing over 20, all the 2-stars are going to count towards that ranking. Right. So it's weird. This, on paper, in terms of the rivals rating, the RR, is going to be one of the better classes in recent history for CU, yet they're still going to rank at or near the bottom of the Pac-12 in terms of the recruiting rankings.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I would actually caution fans not to worry about the team rankings at all, just because we're going to have a very small class. I mean, there's really no way around that. It's just how the numbers work out. Sometimes you have a bunch of seniors, sometimes you don't. I think what you mentioned, the RR rating, is something that's actually not on Rivals either. They use average stars, which in that case you're rating a 5.7 guy the same as a 5.5, yeah. Right? So it's not exactly the best measure. So the RR says that this is the most talented class McIntyre's brought to Colorado. So the 4th year in a row, he's improved the overall talent. The RR average has moved up every single year. So I think that's an important piece for him. It's another step in the right direction. Progress is what you want to see. So.
All right, well, you're going to hear a lot more from us here on signing day. It's time to warm up the fax machines, Tyler.